Let's see, make sure stuff's on
Ah,
this side. Woo, we're getting close. Make sure. Yeah, brother. All right. What's up, homie?
yeah, man.
You look the same.
Yeah, right. You too. What you talking about?
Well, I haven't seen your face in shit. I don't remember how long.
Yeah, it's been a while. I
Yeah,
don't know, probably,
yeah.
probably that last Ocean Beach event that I went to, that first one they did.
Oh yeah, where they had freaking sick waves pretty much the whole time.
It was fun. It was
That
fun.
was good.
Got Salt Creek a
What's up,
couple.
everybody? This is Manny V. We're gonna interview from Florida, Dan Worley. Thanks for taking the time, Dan.
Yeah, man.
All right, so really quick, tell me what's going on behind you because I see Custom X, I see a Ronk board, and a bunch of T-shirts. Just fill me in on what's going on in the background so people can get an idea if they're listening.
Yeah, right on. So, we got these are like some of my favorite custom exports that I've like gotten over the last couple years. This is one like the 35th anniversary edition boards. And it's to my
Sick.
specs, like how to make it, what I'm saying, to the 41 inch and exactly how I like it. And
Yeah.
then over here we got number 6 of 30 on the Pat Caldwell remake of the step rail,
Sick.
which is which is pretty insane. And then this one is the Ronk remake from Custom X, 6 of 50. And and I recently just sold a really good buddy of mine here in town, the Pat Caldwell 6 of 50. So I had like
Oh,
three of them, but then like when they were next to each other, I had six, six, and six, and
oh,
it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I never even realized it until he was over here one day, and he's like, oh man, you got to get rid of one of these, and I'm like, I think he was just trying to like, like, like score one, which he totally did, and but yeah, so I just hooked him up, what I'm saying, like gave it to him, just throw it
sick.
off price, like. And then this one right here, this is a drop knee, custom X drop knee board.
That a custom board?
No, that's their XDK stock board.
Yeah, it's got a pretty sick freaking DK template. Can I see it again?
Yeah.
Shit, Jackson. I think maybe Jackson showed me that.
Got
And
like
you're
the
writing that right now.
I haven't written this one in probably like, I don't know, a couple months. Like it just hasn't been like really good bodyboarding waves over here lately. Like our sandbar's like super screwed up. Like we lost a bunch of like on a just a super deep trough, and it's like breaking out past the pier, and I don't know. So I haven't
Well,
really been
where's
paying that
home?
much. Huh?
Where's home right now?
Flagler Beach, Florida. So I
Okay.
still
Are
Flagler Beach.
are
Huh?
you born and raised there?
No, I was born in Georgia, but like
Okay.
we moved here when I was like 5, and yeah, so I try and claim Floridian, you know.
Yeah. All good. Freaking wherever you put your head down to sleep is what home
Yeah.
is. And what about those t-shirts over there?
So that top one is our shirt from last year for the Flagler Surf Series, which is coming up again in March, March 15th to 17th. I do it every year. Um, my actual elementary school principal is Stuart Max. He does all the artwork and stuff. I spent a lot of time in his office,
That's
saying,
crazy.
and so he's always been like this like amazing artist, and he just, hey, is your surf contest coming up? And I'm like, yeah, and he's like, I got a couple of ideas, and then he just shoots me like killer stuff, and then so and then this one down here on the bottom, this is my own t-shirt for Dan Worley LLC, which is a
Nice.
which is my home, I do like home improvements and stuff like that. Um like windows, doors, like door replacements. Like I just got done with a giant hardy board siding job, and you know, my a really good friend Ryan Wade, you know Ryan Wade out of New Jersey.
Yeah.
He designed that one. He was like, "What do you want on it?" And I was like, "Oh, like waves." And we're in Florida, so we need sharks. And I was like, "Then we need like treasure coins and an orange, and I need a hammer on there." So he just like, and he come up
So
with this.
sick.
It's like it's killer. Here, I'll show it to you.
Well, how long have you had this your company?
This is like I don't know, probably 10 or 12 years, or no, probably like 13 years on my own. Uh,
Awesome. So are you like a contractor or is this your thing that you go like people want to hire somebody to like do their what you just said, this whole side paneling.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
you?
yeah.
You have a team.
No, no, man, I'm a one man show, man. It's hard to find good people,
Yeah.
over here now because everybody that's really good, it's like kind of super busy over here. So everybody like like in our circle is like working and getting top dollar, So
Sick.
it's kind of hard to be like, the guy's already making $30 an hour, like what are you gonna do? Say, hey, come to me for 35 after you've been working for this guy for 15 years, like
Yeah.
there's good loyalty over here. So that's kind of what it is. But yeah, dude, Ryan Wade hooked it up, dude. Got
So sick.
Worley LLC on the other side and shark jaws and treasure coins and hammers.
That's your logo.
Yeah. And then like the
So
piers
sick.
down there at the bottom. And then like if you look real close, there's like a D and a W on the hammers
No way.
with
That's
some old
cool.
school like nails, but they're like spike nails from like the treasure coin days and the shipwrecks and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah,
Here
that's sick.
and like that's the front. That's
Is
my
that what's on your truck? That
yeah.
logo?
Yeah. I have to send you what I got. I got a bunch of them made up. He hooked it up. I just got a bunch made. Bartered out
Yeah,
some booty bags. Bartered
I'll
out some
definitely
booty
get them.
bags and stuff like that to him. So yeah, he was stoked.
Hell yeah. So work is good right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're jamming. We're jamming.
So where do you find time to like put together a freaking surf contest series?
Uh so I just do one event a year now. I kind of
Okay.
found that when you start going back to people and being like, hey, I need some money, hey, I need money, hey, I need money, saying like you kind of, they're getting their return, but what I'm saying, like I kind of felt that it was like overloading, what I'm
Yeah.
saying, like trying to do too many, what I'm saying, just wasn't really worth it, honestly. And
So now you're doing one.
yeah, and it's kind of it's kind of easy because it's already like in motion.
Yeah.
Like what I'm saying, this will be like the 14th one I've done, so it's like I go into the city and I'm like, hey, they're like, oh yeah, when's your next event? And I'm like, just give me an application, and then like, like I fill it out, and then I give it to them, and then they're like, okay, we'll put you on, and and like normally it takes 60 days, what I'm saying, to get a permit out of anywhere, and they're just so great, like like Penny and Janelle and Brenda and everybody that's up in there, they're just
Sick.
they're just on it because they know, I've done so many before that they know what's going to happen.
And
Yeah.
when like what got you started like 14 years ago to get that going? Like why did you want to do it?
Uh, I don't really know. Like at first, like I just had my daughter, and so she was really young, and like at first, like there wasn't a lot of events going on in our town except for one, which like myself and like a couple other friends of mine in high school started, and that's the Tommy Tant, and it kind of it kind of went the way of the family. Like the family kind of took over the event after the first couple years, and it was kind of like like I was involved, like heavily involved, but not like where I wanted to be at, and then I knew that there was room for another event in town. You know what I'm saying? And so like it
Yeah.
kind of started off like, let's just get all the boys together and what I'm saying, we'll put down some cash and this, that, and the other. And then when it really came to fruition, or I don't even know if that's the right word, but my neighbor um owns one of the owns the founding our founding sponsor, Finn's Beachside Pub. He owns he owns the pub. And I was over at his house, and we're you know like
Shooting the shit,
20
freaking trying
beers
to.
deep, and he's like, how come you're not, like how come you're here, and you're not still competing? And like I kind of I broke my arm, and I kind of like got off of like going like traveling and stuff like that. And then whenever we had my daughter, it went from like, oh yeah, this trip will only be like $1,000, but then it's like, all right, wait, I'm gonna miss a week of work, so it's really like 3 to 5 thousand bucks. So it's like, you know, like unless it's like a weekend banger to where, something's popping on the buoys and it's easy to get there on a nighttime flight and then wake up in the morning and be able to surf. It's kind of like, I don't know, having a good work base and having solid income is like kind of important right now.
Yeah, especially when you have a kid and
Yeah.
freaking you're missing work. So yeah,
Yeah.
things. So what ended up happening like
Oh,
with
so
that
he was
talk?
just was like, where are you at? Like, why are you here? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, what contests are here? There's never any contests here. And then he's like, well, why don't you run a contest? And I'm like, man, I'm gonna need like $50,000. And he's like, you don't need $50,000. And then he was like, how much do you really think you would need? And I was like, I gave him a number, and like, he pondered on it for like 10 minutes, and we had a couple more shots, and you know, and then he just like disappeared for like 20 minutes. And like, it's like me and like two of his buddies, we're just on the back porch, and he just comes back and he's like, here you go. And I'm like,
What a
what is that?
check.
No, just $100 bills, just a fat ass wad of $100 bills.
Holy
Like,
shit.
he's like, you said you needed that much, right? And I was like, hell yeah, like, but I really didn't think he was being serious because we were like a little tipsy, and he's like, just let it be known that the founding sponsor is Fins, and the men's pro sponsor will always be Fins. And I was like, eh, that works, you know. And so then like the next morning, I went back over there. Actually, it's like afternoon at that point in time. Like I went back over there and I was like, hey man, like I know we were like drinking last night, but this is what happened. And he was like, he was like, is it not enough? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I just wanted to make sure that we're, like you're not gonna be like, hey, $3,500 is missing, and so said you walked out with it, So
Yep.
I was like, whoa. And then it just,
Yeah,
I just kind of started from there,
that's
so
sick. And the thing is you've competed so much, you've been working behind the scenes, you know how to put a contest together. And I'm guessing that's why he had faith in you,
yeah,
giving you money, like, and making it happen.
yeah, yeah. And then like I was giving him all these ideas and like, about different formats and stuff like that, and he was like, what's the worst part about all of it? And I was like, man, going somewhere and spending like 3 grand and getting put out in your first heat.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
it's like that sucks, you know?
So what did you come up with?
So like, um, so for the men's like pro format, I come up with like a 3 round system to where everybody gets 3 rounds. This is only in the men's pro surfing because like the time to do this format takes all day with 24 guys.
Yeah.
So you give them 3 heats, you win a heat, you automatically get a fourth heat, right? If you don't win a
Sick.
heat, we're gonna keep your points. So if you got 12 points in the first heat and 13 points in the next heat, and then you got 18, you would combine that, and then you would have a point total.
Yeah.
And so what I would try and do is take half the field, right? So if I had 24 guys, I would want to advance 12 or multiple of 4, which would be 16.
Yeah.
And so, and it's kind of worked out to where the guys that are on are winning 2 or 3 heats. So it kind
Perfect.
of eliminates, what I'm saying? Like I've done it 13 times and I've never had to like be like, hey, everybody had a chance, everybody won a heat, so nobody gets, and then we start from here. It's always been like,
It worked out.
like 10 guys have multiple heat wins, and then everybody else is vying for their point totals.
Yeah.
And so if I got 10 guys with heat wins, I take the top 2 points totals after that, and those guys advance, and it makes 12.
Yeah.
Or 13, then you take 3 more, and it's 16. So it just gives everybody like chances to like advance. And I give you $1 if you win. I give you $1 per point, and then I give you a $10 bonus if you win. So there's possibility of $30 per heat,
What?
no matter what. You know what I'm saying?
How much does it cost to
Yeah,
enter the pro surfing?
that's $100.
So you can freaking make a quarter of your money back.
Yeah. So yeah, and then like it's never happened, but I said if you get 2 10s and get a perfect heat, I'll give you a $50 bonus. Right.
Sick.
So 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 basically the final purse is what's left over minus all the money that's already been won.
Yeah.
All I'm saying. So if I get 24 guys and the sponsor pitches in, like their amount, then the purse is 3 grand. So
Yeah.
then like if $600 is gone out of that, then the final is $2,400 split between the top 4 guys.
And they're pumped on that.
And they're pumped on it. Yeah. Yeah. It fills
Yeah.
up. It fills up. I tell
Like
her
how many
like
day how many days?
so like that takes one whole day, like one 8 hour day just to run the men's pro surfing with 24 guys.
Shit.
So I have to go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I
Yeah.
try and run the men's pro on Friday, and if it doesn't start on Friday, then I kind of have to postpone it to the following weekend, just to
Oh
men's
shit.
pro. You know what I'm saying? Because of our amateur divisions and our other pro divisions, I have so many,
Mhm.
that enter that. Like I have a division called the locals only, which I work at a restaurant here in town called High Tides at Snack Jacks also, and uh, and so my locals only division is free to anybody that I know.
Sick.
You're local. I've seen you in the water. You can enter for free, and I get a bunch of stuff from Flow Motion and a bunch of stuff from all these sponsors and Custom X, and like everybody sends me
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff, and then like the prize package is a giant box of shit, and the finalists are like digging it out, like yeah, like everybody's going crazy and like finding their Flow Motion, you know, uh, like button up, polos and like
Yeah.
snub and everybody's leaving like decked out and the the sponsor apparel that comes in for the event.
So
So,
sick.
yeah, I'm pretty stoked on that.
And he's they're still the main sponsor of that.
Yeah, so my I like actually like made like a sponsor package this year just to send it out to people because like a couple of my corporate sponsors kind of like switched hands and they wanted like formal, like formal written, typed
Yeah.
out things and situations to and but on there, like I just write, you know, like these sponsorship opportunities are not available because all these people have been here since day one.
Yeah.
And so like it's up to them to say, hey, we don't want to do it anymore before I even offer that to anybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the founding sponsor is always Finn's Beachside Pub. Our presenting sponsor is, you know, they just came on last year because I never did a presenting sponsor like deal because like our area is small, so you don't go in and ask people for a buttload of money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like because they're just gonna be like, nah, dude, like, that's what I'm saying, that's the day's income.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying for you. So it's like, nah,
Exactly.
dude. So so that's kind of like how it works. And then I finally reached out to a friend of mine. Um, he's got a really good taco shop here in town, and he just opened up a new hamburger place called Whamburger, and they're right next to each other, right behind each other. So A1A Burrito Works and Whamburger are the presenting sponsor last year. So I offered it to them first this year. You know, send them a text. Hey, you still on for like to sponsor this year? And 30 seconds later, yes.
Yeah.
So it's like all the sponsors are like they know what they're gonna get from me
They get it. They get it. They know the advantages
and they're
of being
okay with it.
this.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because they know that that their logo is going to be on the side of A1A for possibly 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And,
Exactly. So
during
you have a big billboard?
what I'm saying, like during spring break. Now, like just on the side of the scaffold structure, what I'm saying, I bring in the scaffold and what I'm saying,
Okay.
I I elevate the judges and all that, and and then
Sick.
like you can't really just have some ugly ass scaffold like showing out. So you just get all the sponsors get their own banners, and you wrap the outside of the structure, and
Yeah.
so like it just looks like it's like a kind of a walking billboard, but it's up
Yeah.
for a minimum of 5 days.
Yeah.
And if I postpone the event due to inclement weather or waves or anything like that, then it's possibly up for like 14 days.
Yeah. Have you had
And
to do that?
yeah, yeah, and I just put the structure up and just the city's cool with it. Like
That's,
they're like, hey, we get it. Like we want it to be good too because it's it's our town. We
yeah.
want to put on good events. We don't want to put on an event that's going to be talked about as not that good.
When when is it?
It's March 15th to 17th this year, so it's a
Okay.
3 day, and then the backup weekend is the following weekend. Usually it's the third to last weekend of March, but like Easter's like a week early, and like Good Friday is a week early this year. Everything's a week early, like even
Yeah.
last week here in Florida, which is like one of the biggest events in Daytona, it's a week early. Like everything's like a full week early this year. So I kind of had to push mine back because there's a contest on Easter in Cocoa Beach, which all the pros go to, and then there's you know and then that
Yeah.
following weekend is like the board riders state finals, and like all the like all the heavy hitters that would be doing the pro divisions are going there, and
Yeah.
so it just ends up you just what I'm saying, you kind of just got to fit in where you can, because there's a contest every weekend in Florida, and it's like kind of annoying. you know there's like
but
people call
but
you, how you gonna do your event on top of my event? And I'm like, man, you're in Melbourne.
yeah.
You're 3 hours south of us. Like, not pulling your guys, you know what I'm saying? Like your Groms aren't coming up here, like
Yeah.
not for an event that's geared toward like, like the flagler people, to like, it's like my give back to my friends,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know. I'm not saying we're biased or anything, saying anything like that, but it's on our radar and our zone, but I'm saying the only people that are coming from down there are the guys that know that they got a good chance of winning money in the pro divisions.
Yeah. So how far away do you get these pro guys coming to the event, the surf pro guys?
So we've had a couple guys come down from like New York. We've had a couple guys come from Puerto Rico for, I'm saying, for some of the events, and all over Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina. We got some, like we do pull from far away. Not a lot, saying we're mainly, like our local zone.
Yeah.
Like I get all the boys together with this locals only thing and do, like like
Yeah.
kickoff party. I let them pick their own heats. Saying like I'll draw a number out of a hat, and that's the first person to go, and they put their name in a heat, and then it's like, and then they pick a number, and then that person comes up, and like it's kind of fun.
Sick.
Like you end up with like dads versus kids, and then like an all girls heat, or like an all like boys heat, like an all like little kids heat. It's like
Sick.
everybody kind of like wants to pick on their own people, So like,
So sick. And
yeah.
how's the bodyboard divisions?
The boogie divisions are tough, man. Like it's tough. Um,
Yeah.
I do get, 8 to 10 guys on a regular basis, but like unless it's really good, they're not coming. You,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? If it's 2 foot and we're like, doing spins and rolls and there's nothing else but spins and rolls, like I'm always down. Like I'll always, like I'll put my money down. Like,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, regardless whether it's 6 inches or 10 foot, like I'm down.
But somebody from Ocean City, Maryland is not going to make the drive down
Right.
and roll the dice to
Right.
see if it's gonna, yeah. No,
But
I
there is
get it.
somebody from Ocean City, Maryland that's in Florida. Where are you? He always leaves like the
Exactly.
week before my event to go back north. And I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
stay a week, man. Like, you know who I'm talking
Exactly. Enjoy it.
about.
All right. Let's are you there? Did
Yeah,
we
I'm
lose
here.
you?
You kind of froze up a little bit.
Oh, I think we lost Dan for a second.
I see.
In your my internet. There we are. You there?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
see.
We're back on. All right, let's get into Dan Worley then. Let's what I like to do with these interviews is just essentially document where it all started. Like where were you when you finally found not only bodyboarding, but even before that, like when you first encountered the ocean. Like first give us the background on where you were born, all of the details behind that, and then your first experience with the ocean.
Right. So I was born in Albany, Georgia, which is in like Southwest Georgia, like
Not even by the ocean.
nowhere near the ocean. So it's like 6 or 7 hour drive. And but my but my grandparents, my dad remarried to my stepmom, and her parents lived in Edgewater, which is like an hour south of where I'm at now. So we would come to Edgewater and we would go to New Smyrna Beach, and like swim when we were kids, like younger age, and you know, but we didn't like take surfing until we actually moved down here. And so
Okay.
like we
So it's more
moved
like
down
a
here.
summertime, like just a getaway weekend thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, hey, we're gonna go see, you know, you know, grandma and grandpa in Edgewater. So it was like, man, that's like a 10-hour drive, like we're gonna be there for like 10 hours, and then we're gonna get back in the car and drive home 10 hours. It's like,
Shit.
like we would stay overnight one night and then drive home.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, we've been gone for 48 hours and we've been driving for 20.
Oh shit.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but then my dad got a job down here. He was working at Procter and Gamble, and he retired from Procter and Gamble, and then he got a job offer down here at a company called Contemporary Machinery, and they um they built machines that cut like the wheels for like trains.
Oh damn.
Yeah, and so my dad was like a super nerd, like,
Oh,
and
engineer dude.
yeah, like full engineer, and he like I want to say in the interview, I remember I was there, like listening to him, like, what I'm saying, over the phone, and they're like, we're gonna send you these plans of this machine, and let like tell us how you would build it. And then he's like, well, I would just do this, this, and this, and he's like talking over the phone. Next thing you know, we're moving to Florida. So, you know what I'm saying? So like they were like, oh man, we gotta have this guy. He just built this machine like kind of to how we have it, which is really the only way to build it. You know what I'm saying? So he came in there and like made the circuit board smaller, like made like the brain of the machine smaller. And I don't know, he just, he was always,
And he was retired. This is like just extra.
well, like when he took a job there because we were young, saying we were like, saying we were only like 6 or 7, whenever we moved down here. And so like it's like he was retired, but he wasn't retiring. He
Yeah.
was just, hey, I can get pension off these guys for the rest of my life and still make the same amount of money as well, and we could
Sick.
be living in Florida. So like that's kind of how it went. And then we got a house right over here on the beach and on the saltwater canals, and it just kind
Sick.
of it just kind of worked out. And then like some of my first friends in town here were bodyboarders. Like, what I'm saying, like a couple of my friends were like, like, hey man, we're bodyboarders, and I'm like, all right, that's cool, like I'm like, you know,
What
you
were
know,
you doing? What were you doing like for fun when before you moved down? Soccer, BMX?
you know, we played baseball, but I don't, I don't know, we really didn't do anything, except
Yeah.
for just like run around the neighborhood up there,
Yeah, you're
but
still
like,
young.
yeah, so, but then like, you know, like whenever my dad got that offer, it was like, all right, we're out of here.
Hmm.
Like, he had been here for, 25, 30 years and he was over it,
Yeah.
like,
So it was you, your dad, your stepmom, and did you have siblings, brothers, sisters?
yeah, yeah. So like my older brother was there, and then like my stepsister, she was living with us sometimes, back and forth between her dad's and us,
Hmm.
like, so then we all just moved down here. And then like my stepsister was older than both of us, so she didn't like move down with us. She like stayed with her dad. I don't even know
Hmm.
where they're at, like maybe Minnesota or North Dakota, something like that.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah. So, like we were, saying we had like a family unit, but it was
Yeah.
split up a little bit, you know.
Yeah. And did you ever still have contact with your mom?
My real mom, yeah. My stepmom, that's kind of a crazy story. Like after my dad died, everything got weird,
Mm.
so it like,
How old were you?
but when uh, I don't know, it was like 27 or 28.
Older, older. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So whenever yeah, like we were out of the house, you know what I'm saying? Like my dad and, her were like, what I'm saying? They were doing good. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing, like everything was like kosher. And, he just had a crazy heart attack and just,
Hmm.
you know, just,
Yeah.
he was alive one minute and like the very next second, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like there was
Crazy.
no coming back from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything got kind of weird. Like I still talk to my real mom. My real mom, like, what I'm saying, she comes down, often and kind of hangs out. She still lives up there in Albany.
Okay.
And, like she has a daughter as well. Um, not by my dad, but so I have like a half, like a half sister that lives up there as well. And
All
like
right.
she's got
Cool.
kids and so
Got the whole life thing going up there.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right. So you have new friends in Florida and they bodyboard and they're the
yeah.
ones that got you
Yeah,
into
so
it.
they
What are their
bodyboard
names?
and and then like my first boogie, we got it from Walmart. It was like a Maury mock gripper. You know, like you
How
know,
old are you? What year was this?
out I don't even know. Maybe like 90, 1990 maybe.
Yeah.
When like Walmart like had like kind of like mid-range Maury boogies.
Yeah.
And so like we went there, my dad was like, $100, you're out of your damn mind. And I'm like I'm on the grass, like I gotta have something that's decent.
Yeah.
And so I got that and I rode that for a long time. And then one Christmas I remember there was a very unique shape underneath the Christmas tree, and like I opened it up and it was a Tubes BB Buzz RCell,
Oh, damn.
like 42 inches, like way too big for me, but like,
Yeah.
so that
Legit.
that was like the board that really like all right, now we got like a really good board.
Yeah.
It was probably like 93, 94 maybe.
So a few years after, but
Yeah.
what were the names of your friends when you first start like hey, we're bodyboarders. What were their names? Do you
Uh,
remember?
so so like the first person that told me that they were a bodyboarder was Don Raby and his brother Chris Raby. Um, it's like and like I met them in like sixth grade, I think. And he's like, I'm a bodyboarder, and I'm like, what is that? And he's like, this is what it is, and I'm like, oh, all right. Well, I'm a bodyboarder too. Like, and
Sick.
then like, and then my brother was kind of surfing a little bit, and like I kind of was surfing, and then he was like, stop hanging out with me. Like,
Oh yeah.
so I was like, well, screw it, I'll get a bodyboard, and I'll still be out there, but I won't be surfing, like,
Yeah.
and so, then my buddy JC, he kind of surfed, longboard, skateboard, I did everything, and like he was the first person I ever seen do like a solid El Rolo, and I was like, whoa, like that's the first Rolo I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I gotta figure that shit out because he's beating me right now.
Yeah.
And like then that next year, I think like we all started competing in the ESA, and then like there was a couple older guys in our zone too, like Justin Tejan and Johnny Seal. And then like the Bubba Creeder was up in St. Augustine, and and then like down south you had like Brian Hinton, and like Lugo and all those guys. They were already ripping, like drop knee, big Rolos, ARSs, and
Yeah.
like then there was this dude Hector Morales. This guy was beast, bro. Like I don't know if you ever met Hector, but he was, dude. He'd do 25 spins, 10 El Rolos,
Oh
like
shit. I
you
think
know,
I remember. That name sounds
you know,
familiar. I wonder if he came out to the East Coast or the West Coast to compete because that name does sound familiar.
he he was all over the place, but he was really good. He was really good. But my favorite thing about Hector was like we were in a heat together, and it was like back then it was an open division. You didn't even have, you know what I'm saying? You had mini unis and juniors and men's, but you all competed together, and then however you placed, like if you were the highest ranking mini uni, you got first place in mini uni, so you got your trophy and 1,000 points. You know,
Okay.
and then like if you made the open final, you got two trophies and you were the shit, what I'm saying? You come out, you know,
And that
and but like I remember I was in a heat with like him and Johnny and Justin and like all these guys that ripped, and I was like, man, I'm getting put out, dude, straight up, like 6-man heat, like I'm the youngest, and I was like, it's like I'm gonna do a front flip. It's like I'm just gonna go straight and just nosedive and kick my feet over and like do a front flip. Like ain't nobody seen that in the ESA. So,
yeah.
like wedging just like dumpy short pound, and I just like he had just got a wave, and like I remember seeing it from the back. I think he did like 8 Rolos. Like I
Holy
don't even
shit.
know how, but he was like, I'm like, well, I'm like, this guy's insane. So he's pounding back out, and I'm looking right at him, and I just, boom, like completely do like a whole flip, like hit like a chop, did a whole front flip, like came down, and then like it like closed out onto the beach, and like pulled in. And I remember like just traveling, like sand grinding, and I like dry docked it like right on the beach, like 30 yards down. So like I did this front flip like in the tube, come flying out, and they're like, holy shit, 10-point ride, like, and he was pissed, bro. He was pissed. He was like, that ain't even a move.
Oh my
He
God.
nosedived and rolled over and like made it somehow, but he didn't see like the draining barrel afterwards. So, since it was like, and there's no bodyboarders judging it, it's
Yeah.
surfers, and they're like, what just happened? Like he just did a front, like, he just did a front flip and then got barrel for like 10 seconds, and
Yeah.
then, like dry docked it on the beach, and then like got up and like flicked everybody off, saying this kid's getting a 10, like,
Yeah.
and so I got a 10 and then like 7 or 8 ones, and like, and he
Yeah.
got like 2 5s, and like I beat him, and he ended up getting like fourth, and I got third, and he was raging. He was raging. And I was like, yeah, I finally made it out of the heat, and
Yeah.
like I want to say it was like it was like probably like the second time I ever even made it out of a heat,
Damn.
'cause you were always,
And you were a Grom.
yeah, we were drawn. We were always like 10,
Yeah.
like doing a cutback and then pulling in was my thing.
Yeah.
Like there was no 360s. If there was a 360, it was not on purpose,
Sloppy.
and like splash spray everywhere, and like but
So what did that do? Did that like ignite like a full fire of like, okay, time to get serious and
well, like
focus?
when I came in, like one of the local older guys was like, bro, finally you guys are stop doing this cutback shit. He's like, you guys go to Hawaii. He's like, these guys are gonna eat you guys up. He's like, if y'all don't start doing rolls and spins or like more than what you're doing, he's like, even if you make it to nationals, I wouldn't even go. He's like, because you're gonna get last. And I was like, it's like, fuck that. I made nationals this year, man. I better not, like
Yeah.
like, and then like all of us server guys, we all, what I'm saying? Like we weren't the type to be like, like, oh, I learned how to do a roll. So it's like I got the edge. You know what I'm saying? Like when I see my buddy JC do a roll, he was like, oh man, this is how you do it. Like,
Ooh.
like he's like, look over your shoulder. And I'm like, holy shit, like that made it easy.
Yeah.
Once you like learned like, like you look over your shoulder, like the neck follows, the shoulder follows the neck, the head follows the neck, like
The
everything
technique. Yeah.
just, everything just goes that way. And then and then we were just, then we all started doing rolls and spins and, like
Were you
everything.
guys watching videos and stuff back then or
Oh, man,
magazines?
we had videos like VHSs. Like we ended
Yeah.
up getting sponsored by this surf shop up in St. Augustine called Blue Sky. First my buddy Don and his brother got sponsored by him, and then I went
The
up there.
rabies.
Yeah, and and um and like Dave the owner, super cool. They had like 100 boogies in stock, all times, like almost more boogies than surfboards at sometimes, you know. And I went there, and Don's like, "Yeah, man, I got first in the mini uni, and I got second, or second in the open." And he was like, well, how much was it to enter? And he was like, oh, it's $20 and then $15. And he was like, all right, so you got $35 store credit. And I'm like, damn, dude, well, I got second, and then I got fifth in the open. And he's like, well, you're on the team too, then you got $35 store credit too, So I would like full on go there and like buy a bodyboard video after every ESA contest. Like I went there and I bought a bodyboard video because I had $20, you know, store credit, and the videos were like 29. So
Mhm.
like, he
So
was
sick.
making, what I'm saying, he was getting $9 and the promotion and publicity and all that. And like I'm not even sure how much they cost back then, but I'm, knowing what I know now, like, he was probably getting them for $5, you know, putting 29.99 on it,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
like
Dude,
still making
totally.
$5 off of us, even though he was giving it to us mostly for free. So like that was my
Yeah.
first
Yeah. Is
like
Blue Sky still around?
he retired and closed doors probably about 5 or 6 years ago. But it was a pretty good
Oh,
shop up in St. Augustine, man. Like if you were a bodyboarder in the 90s or early 2000s, what I'm saying, you got your gear from St. Augustine at Blue Sky because they're the only ones that had it. Besides
yeah.
there was a shop in Melbourne, bodyboard headquarters, but like can't be like, hey dad, drive me to Melbourne, and he'd be like, I'll drive you to St. Augustine, but I
Yeah.
ain't driving you to Melbourne, like
Yeah.
so yeah.
So
Blue Sky,
sick.
and that dude still kills it too. He's always around like shooting photos. Um, DaveMcCree.com, like he's mostly St. Augustine guy, so he's shooting Volano and St. Augustine Pier and all that. Puts out a cool calendar every year with all local, like all local guys. You know,
Sick.
does a boogie calendar too. So we all get, every now and then we'll get a shot in there, and it'll be like, oh, you got to come sign it. So we'll go up there
Sick.
and sign it, and then you sign one, then he gives you one, and then he sells the rest.
So
But
sick.
he must
Did you
be.
have any did you have any mentors like or bodyboarders that you looked up to or like that motivated you? Like whether it was like a pro dude or a local another rider that like pushed you?
Um, not really like not really very many pro guys, like we were like into it, but we didn't really know like the pro scene of it. You know what I'm saying? Because like it was kind of like until we got the videos and started watching the videos and kind of like saw who was who, and like there was always magazines and stuff, but like you never like so you never saw those guys in real life in
Yeah.
like in Florida. Like one time the Maury team came to Blue Sky Surf Shop and did like a promo thing, and and like their whole team was there. Ronk and Frietas, and I think J Real was
Did you
there.
go?
Yeah, yeah, we went up there. I got the Grom got brought my Raw One video, had them all sign it. Tom Maury was there. So it was kind of cool, but like besides that, never like none of us here really had like a personal connection to like any of like what we saw in the magazine because we were like, like we didn't know those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like so but like it was mostly just like, like our little group wanting to like,
Push each other.
you know, win the local contest, so we could have that little bit of bragging rights at school the next week, or whatever. So it was kind
Yeah.
of like our little group just kind of, we kind of ran shop, and like Florida for a while, like we would go and the final would be like 6-man final and it'd be like me and like 5 of my friends, and like we just,
From Flagler.
yeah, and like we would just like beat everybody
Oh,
else. And what I'm saying? The goal for us was to like all of us be in the final and like not let anybody else from like, like even make the final, So and like
so
it
sick.
kind of worked out like a lot more than it didn't, which was like kind of cool too, because we were always
And
like
did you
split up, so we were never all in the same first round heat for some reason. We were always split up.
perfect?
There was like 2 mini unis, 2 juniors, and 2 men's in every heat. We had
So
like,
perfect.
yeah, so we would all be like, we would meet in the semis and then meet in the final, so it was like, like if all of us all made it, it'd be, we were like we were in the semis together or, like, or the finals all the time. So it was fun. So
When was your first time like leaving Florida and seeing other riders like seeing, because most everybody in the same area usually has the same type of style. But when was that first experience where you like left Florida and saw a whole different way of riding?
so we made it to nationals at Oceanside, like a whole bunch of us. And I remember going to Oceanside and I remember seeing Roger Momwad, right? And
Okay. What year was this?
oh man, this was probably 96, 97, maybe something like that. Cause like my first year in ESA, we all made the nationals. And that was like 95, 96. So yeah. And like, I want to say it was either him or Caper Cruz had this huge rat tail. And it was like, thing was like 2 foot long, bro. It's like straight Hawaiian rat tail, like, and like I remember seeing him like we walked up and I remember seeing like him dropping on a wave and like do a roll and I seen like this, like this thing whip behind him and I was like, what was that? Like, it's like something just jumped out of the water at that guy, right? Right. So then my buddy Dom was like, oh, he's like, oh, I think that's Roger Momwad, and I was like, man, that dude rips, and he's like, he's in your heat. And I'm like, damn. He just did like this giant old Rolo and like a couple spins, like, all the way to the beach. Like how it was in like like the mid 90s, it was, you know, you could do 10 spins and 5 old Rolos like going straight and you were like getting a 10.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember being like, holy crap, that guy's in my heat, and it was like the first wave I saw, like coming up to Oceanside, and I'm like, man, I'm about to get put out, like, you know, and then like I think I got third in that heat, and I advanced, and like, you know, he had like 18 points, and like I had like 6, you know,
Yeah.
so I was like, man, this guy, he's gonna win for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that was like the first time I'd ever like seen anybody bodyboard outside of Florida,
Yeah.
so like that was kind of like a huge eye opener and like situation, because I was like doing rolls, but not like that, not like arm extension, rat tail whipping, like it was nuts, dude. Like I was I was kind of freaking out,
Yeah.
like my parents just dropped like $1,000 for us to come out here and like, the expert, that, you know, there wasn't ever like, oh, you got to win this because we dropped $1,000, but it was like, dude, we dropped $1,000, bro.
Go
You know,
freaking
like,
kick ass.
like if you get put out, we're leaving tomorrow type deal because,
Oh shit.
because we dropped $1,000 already.
Yeah.
So it's like if you don't make your heat, like we're not staying until till Friday like we're supposed to. Like you get put out, we're going home. Like like my
Damn.
dad was the type of guy that's like, I'll change our flights and we'll go home. Because
Yeah.
he was needed at work. Like he was like the honcho there. So it was like, for him to shag out for a little while was like, everything else got
A
put on
big deal.
hold. It was a big deal, yeah. So
Fuck.
yeah.
So you got knocked, did you get knocked out?
No, no, like I made it uh so like our first heat was on like Tuesday, and then our next heat wasn't until like Thursday. So like we
Okay.
got to hang out for the week, and then um I want to say yeah, two guys didn't show up for the semi. And then I only had to beat
What?
like one other guy. Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know like if they got stuck in traffic or whatever, but they just totally missed their heats. And you know what I'm saying? So like it's like I only had to beat one guy, and it was like somebody that was on my level. And so like I beat him and I made it to the final. So we stayed until Friday and all. But like one time we went to the East Coast Championships and I got put out, dude. My dad, we 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 got in the car at like 4 p.m. Right, my heat was at like 10 o'clock the next morning, and it was in you know Buxton, Outer Banks, 14-hour drive. Like we were getting there like with 2 hours to spare. I get
Oh
there,
my,
right? I go out, I get put out, we get right back in the car, and we drive 14 hours home.
oh my
Like,
God.
kid you not. And my dad was like, well, boys, that was a fun trip, like, like, but he was like, we're not staying, like, what's the point of staying? And I'm like, so we can hang out and surf, and he's like, that ain't the way this shit works, man. He was like, we're no. Yeah. So, and then my
But he
brother
wasn't
was,
upset with
no, he
your dad
wasn't
wasn't
upset.
pissed
He was just
off.
was
He was
like,
just like, we're out of
yeah,
here.
you know. And it was funny. Like I remember, like I was so bit, I was all crying and shit. Like in the back of the, like in the back of the truck, I'm all crying. And my brother's like, dude, you're a kook, man. Like he's like, I didn't even get to surf, right, right. And I was all, and like I remember my dad going, I don't even know what a kook is. He's like, but stop calling him that because like he was like, you didn't make it to Easterns, and I was like, like, I'm saying my brother didn't qualify for Easterns that year, but like the surfing, that was like his first year competing as well, so it was like, I'm saying like the level of
Yeah.
competition versus what we were at, like we were making the final kind of regardless because there was only like X amount of us, and then
Yeah.
for him, it was like, there's 400 guys here that made it, like, so yeah, I didn't even get to surf. You're a kook. Stop calling him that. I don't even know what that is. And you're not a kook, like, yeah, I am. Like I'm a Barney. Like you're not. I don't even know what that is either.
So funny.
But yeah,
At what point, because this happened with me, with my parents, they didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But at what point did your dad finally realize, oh, okay, fuck, he's legit. He's like fucking, like people are here, people know about him. Like, at what point did that happen where your parents were like, "Oh shit, okay, this is real shit."
So I know exactly the point where my dad was like, all right, because I had got I had gone to the Surf Expo and I met JP Patterson. He was the rep for Maury. And Maury was my first board sponsor. You know what I'm saying? It's like I met JP at the at the expo. I showed him my portfolio, had all these pictures, my resume, contest results, yada yada yada. And so I remember being at the house and I got a phone call from JP and he was like, "Hey man, the UPS truck should be to you today, like with some goods for you." And I'm like, all right, right on, like sweet. He's gonna send me a board and a pair of flippers, and like like a Maury rash guard. And so like while I'm on the phone with him, like, the UPS man got a very distinct noise. And I'm like, he's here now. And he's like, all right, man, call me back and tell me if you're good. And I'm like, all right, all right. So like the UPS man, he like he comes down with like this box, like this big, and I'm like, man, that ain't a boogie board, And he's like, he rings the doorbell and I open it up and like I look at it and I'm like, man, that ain't even a body board. I'm like, this guy didn't even send me a board. And so like I open that and there's like 6 pairs of Churchills in there. And I'm like, right on. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with 6 pairs of Churchills, but like I got a case of Churchills, you know? And so like the UPS man, he goes back to his truck and he comes back down with like another like rectangular box. And I'm like, sweet. I'm like, that ain't no boogie board either. And so like I opened that box like on the front step and like it's got like pin leashes, like like 5 rash guards in every color, like Maury Boogie wax, like just racks of stickers. So like I got it open up on the front porch and then, like the front door is open, right? And my dad's like, shut the door. And I'm like, man, you ain't gonna believe what's going on out here. And he comes up and he's like, what the hell is all this? And I'm like, he's like, remember I told you I got sponsored? And he's like, if this ends up on my credit card, I'm kicking your ass. And I'm like, I'm like, dude, no way. I got sponsored, and he didn't even know what that was. He had no idea that that somebody was going to give me all this stuff. Right. So then the UPS man goes back, comes like starts walking back up, and this thing is like, this is a box of boogies. And I'm like, sick. Here comes a box of boogies. It's like massive, right? He comes up, puts it on the porch step, and I'm like, this is the boogies, man, for sure, and so like I rip that one open, and it's like 4 Mike Stewart C40s, channel 40s, like 40-inch Arcel X Flex, just I'm like pulling these things out, and I'm
Where's
like,
your dad? Where's your dad?
dude, he's like telling me, he's like, this ain't even real. He was like, you bought this. He was like, ain't no way. He's like, you've been doing this for like a year. Like where'd you like how did you buy this? And I'm like, didn't I'm telling you, right? So then I'm like, go get the landline, like go pick up the phone and call back that same number that just called the house. Right. And it was the Maury factory. What I'm saying? So like my dad goes and, you know, I'm David Worley, like what, you guys, like, am I paying for this shit? And he's talking to JP, and like, here comes the UPS man with another box. And I'm like, holy shit, here comes another box, right? So I
A
opened
boogie
this
box.
up and it's 4 Mike Stewart Pro Comp 42s, right? So here it is. I got 8 boards, got 6 pairs of fins, got this huge box of stickers and everything else. And I'm like, and what I'm saying, my dad, like, He's like, all right, man, well, I appreciate you, you know what I'm saying? Like, da, 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 da. And he hangs up the phone and he's like, I don't know how the hell you pulled that shit off, but he's like, you know, da, da, da. And then lo and behold, here comes the UPS man with another box. And I'm like, dude, there's no way. And it's another 4-pack of boards, right? Open that one up, and it's 4 Mike Stewart Pro Comp 40 inches channels. And I'm like, holy shit, you know? So he's like, what are you gonna do with all this stuff? And I'm like, I'm calling Bobby. And I'm like, Bobby was my buddy, lived down the street. And I'm like, Bobby's getting a new board. I'm like, he's getting a pair of fins, he's getting a leash, he's getting this. Da, 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 da. It's like I call Bobby up, and you know, he comes over and he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, you know, like that was when like Karate Kid was like kind of cool and everything. And I'm like, choose. You know, like, you know? Like, you know, I'm like, and he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, grab a board. You know, like pick whichever one you want. You know, like here, you know, here I am, this little kid. Like I'm never gonna use this many boards in my life. That I'm thinking, you know. So it's like I hook him up. You know, he goes home. You know, and his mom calls my dad. Where the hell did Bobby get all this stuff? He said your son gave it to him, and there's no way anybody's giving anybody this kind of stuff. This is a $400 worth of stuff. Nah, 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 nah. And so my dad explains to her, you know, da, da, da. So, you know, here comes Bobby's brother, you know, like Bobby's older brother that surfs, and he's like, hey, dad, you know, like, hey, let me get a board too. And I'm like, all right, you know. So, like, you know, like I basically gave like half of that stuff to all my friends, and then like the whole zone, you know, like except for Don and Chris were like riding Maury's because of that one day. You know, like,
Damn.
you know, we all were riding Maury's except for Don and Chris because they were sponsored by Custom X at the time. They had just got sponsored by Custom X. And so like, you know, it was crazy. You know, like so like I know for 100% that that was the time that my dad was like, all right, like, you know, like, okay, so you're not a kook and you're not a Barney, you know, because like even though we just drove 28 hours for you to be there for 2 hours, you know, like
Yeah.
that was like right after like all that. That was within like a week of
Oh,
of
shit.
like that whole thing, you know. And
Yeah.
you know, then that next year we all made it to Hawaii, so we all went to Hawaii and stuff. My dad was all frothing out on that, and it was funny because he'd always call it Hawaii, you know. He wouldn't even call it Hawaii because he's like just country bumpkin from like, you know,
Yep.
West Georgia, Panhandle, Florida, you know, Hawaii, not even
Yep.
Hawaii, you know. But yeah, for sure, that was the first time for sure. Yeah,
Sick. Awesome.
100%.
Well, let's finish off with these 5 questions I usually ask at the end of the interviews. Definitely we're gonna have a part 2 because there's so many other stories. Like we'll start off the next interview with Hawaii. But 5 on the fly is what we end most with is what we end the interviews with. And it's typically the questions, or it's the questions that were asked, you know, as we're all growing up. Like the first one, what is your biggest wave you've ever caught?
Biggest wave I've ever caught. Um, my friend Billy and I, Billy Anderson, who was another dude that was ripping around here for a long time, dropping and everything. Um, he had gone to Nicaragua one year and he was like, man, there's this spot called the Outer Reef and it is gnarly, dude. And he's like, we got to go there. And I was like, all right, you know. And it was kind of at a time to where, you know, like I'd gone to Hawaii and everything, you know, and like I'd done Hawaii, and which is like another good one because like my first real big wave was at Pipe. My first wave at Pipe was like gnarly. It was breaking like Second Reef, whitewashing through, and like none of my buddies even paddled out. This was my first biggest wave, and like I remember like the set coming in and like the whole pack just going like, you know, there was like half that wanted it and half that didn't, and it was like me and my friend, like me and
In the middle.
me and like one of the dudes that I knew from, you know, from like competing, like, and then like I want to say Jeff Hubbard was out because I remember like being like, oh shit, Hub's out, and like, but I specifically like remember this set like everybody split and I was kind of like, you know, like like I kind of wanted it, but it was like scary. There was like some water coming through, and Tamayo Perry was paddling at like second reef, and was like, and the whitewash kind of like picked him up from the back, and he was, you know, bucking and holding on, and then I saw him disappear, and everybody else had duck dived except for like me because I was like kind of like shocked at what was going on, like how much water was coming through, and like I'm like, oh my god, that guy just drowned, like because he just got swamped, right? And then I kind of realized this wave is going to break on you unless you go. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like the whitewash was kind of like pushing across. And so I kind of like went off to the side a little bit because I thought he was going to make it, but then when he didn't make it, I just like
So he didn't make it. He like
no, he
got he
got
got
bucked and like disappeared. And I like just turned and I remember just looking down this thing and I was like, "Ah!" And I make it to the bottom and I'm screaming like, "Ah!" Just like 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 I don't even know, scared, scared for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Because like it was huge. Like none of my buddies even piled out. They were like, "Oh, you going out there?" And it was probably like an 8-10 foot Hawaiian wave, and
yeah.
so I make it to the bottom, and I remember just like sitting up and being like straight, stiff arm, like looking out the barrel, and then somehow like moving forward, like I didn't even know I could do this, and I just moved forward, and like the rail just grabbed, and I remember like being like, and here it is coming over me, and I'm like, ah, and I just looking out the hole, what I'm saying? Exactly what I'm talking about, like looking out the hole, and then all of a sudden, this, this is the boog, like
Oh. Forward flip from the fucking
just
shockwave.
just like murdered, absolutely blown to shreds. Crash guard gone, right? Leash broke, no board, like both flippers hanging off with fin tethers, and I'm like drowning, like drowning, and and
Oh
then
my.
like this dude was palling out, and he's like, and he just had like this giant board, and he's like, man, he's like, you're gonna drown, and I'm like, rah! The next wave hits us, and like, I get pushed in a little bit more, and then like this was, like, like water patrol is out there on the jet ski. He comes fucking flying over, like I come up like, and I'm like, rah! Like not trying to be grabbed, but coming up all vibrating, and my arm coming up, and then like get snatched out by the water patrol, like dislocated my shoulder, like get taken to the beach, like walking up the beach, like, and my buddy Billy's like, you're dead, dude. He's like, you're not even alive right now. It's like, there's no way. And I'm like, grab my arm, he's, you know, pop it back into place, and I'm like had to my board was down past freaking Rockies, like had to chase my board all the way down the beach. That was that was the biggest one I didn't make for sure. For
Fuck,
sure.
that sounds
Yeah.
freaking insane. Because any wave feathering on the outside on the second reef and then coming to the inside
It,
is a
it
bomb.
just it just no.
I don't know if this is it, but the next question is your worst wipeout.
uh worst wipeout was Porto Escondido.
Oh
Uh
fuck.
right after Cabo Freak Fest when me and Devin went to Porto after that. Um Porto was giant, like giant. There was water like coming over the beach and into the road giant, right? And that was like the first day we were there, and I was like, holy shit, like let's go try this. And so like went out,
Usually when it's that big, people go to the point breaks or to the
yeah.
point.
Well, so like we ended up not even making it out that day, right? Because it was like so big, we had no business even going out. So like then we went to Barra. We ended up going to Barra, surfing Barra like 10 to 12 foot, absolutely ridiculous, ridiculous. And then we came back, and like 2 days after the big swell, and Porto was like 6 to 10 foot, and just pumping. And I got this left, and I pulled in, and I just was driving, 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 and then like the bottom just. And I remember
Yeah.
like free falling into it, and not like getting scorpion, but like getting twisted sideways, and then like hitting, and like I ended up cracking a vertebrae,
Fuck.
and and I got a huge black eye and a bloody nose, and I was like, kind of bobbing on the inside. I got saved by the lifeguards there too on this one actually, and so the lifeguard
Holy
came
shit.
there. So the lifeguard came out. He like swam me into the beach because at Porto when you get to the inside you can't get onto the beach. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Because all that water is moving there, especially when it's that big. So they came out, grabbed me, drug me up on the beach, and like I laid on the beach for like an hour, just like baking in the sun until Devin came in, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Bro, I can't even move, dude." I'm like,
Oh,
and
shit.
he's like, "Oh man, your nose is bleeding." And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like I think my ears are bleeding. I was like, I think my eyeball is bleeding on the inside, and I'm like, and
Oh,
I can't
God.
like I could move my legs and everything. I could move, but like if I like tried to sit up, like I felt that like right, like right, like right around the seven, and so I made it to the hotel room. I remember making it to the hotel room, and I sat in this chair, and I sat straight up like this, and I stayed there for like 2 days. Like,
Oh my God.
yeah, like the last like 3 days of the trip, I didn't even like leave the hotel room. And like Devin was like bringing me food and shit, and like,
Fuck.
so like I come back to the States, and like I was like I like had this pain for like the longest time. I remember going to the doctor, and the doctor was like, he was like, well, you have a chip that's kind of like just floating out to the side. And he was like, I think you should just try and live with it versus
What
like
the fuck?
us going in there and taking it out. And I was like, man, that's like, I'm trying to live with this. But I just, he's like, just don't move. It's close enough to where it should fuse back like pretty good. So if you just like take it easy for like the next, like, I don't know, 6 months or so, like you should be all right. And then we ended up going back to Cabo that next year too. So like it took me like right at 6 months before I actually like like it didn't hurt to like bodyboard, you know.
Uh,
But yeah, so
oh my.
chipped back, like bloody nose, you know, big old like red spot in the back of my eyeball for like 3 months. Yeah, that was gnarly.
Fuck. Oh well, I'm glad you're alive. Favorite favorite bodyboarder.
Favorite bodyboarder. Um, I'd say my buddy Billy. Billy Anderson's my favorite bodyboarder because he's my favorite all boarder. You know what I'm saying? He does it all. He surfs, he bodyboards, longboards, you know, like he kind of did it all. He was like my travel buddy for like the longest time. You know what I'm saying? Like we always went on trips together and like, you know, he was my favorite person to hang out with, you know, and like bodyboard with. You know, like I always had like, you know, like I always thought, you know, like Jeff was crazy, you know, and like Roach, of course, and you know, like the guys in the you know, like Maligs, you know, like those guys, but I'd say my favorite bodyboarder was definitely Billy Anderson for sure.
Is he still
Because he just
riding?
yeah. He lives on Maui now, but you know, he just kills it. You know, he can drop knee, he prones, stand up, you know, in the whole 9 yards. You know, and
Sick.
he was always like, let's go, you know, like he's like there's gonna be a swell, let's go, it's gonna be big, and you know I'll go. If you go, I'll go, you know, type situation. So it was always like, yeah, for sure. For sure, Billy A.
Sick. All right. Favorite bodyboarding movie.
Favorite bodyboarding movie? I would say the one I liked the most, the one I watched the most was Revolution. And it was kind of like a Cali video, you know, like I really liked watching the Jacob Reeves section of that video, and then the Phil Harnsberger section, you know, like that was my go-to video for sure.
Yeah,
Revolution.
that whole Santa Barbara Ventura crew
Yeah.
finally exploded on the scene. Well,
Yeah.
no, there was a pretty solid crew for as long as I can remember, but that was like the new generation just laying it on the line. And I agree, that was a sick video.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
all right. The last question. You can travel anywhere in the world. Where would it be? Who would the five people you would want to go with you? Who would shoot it? And who would videotape it?
Right. Um,
Where would you go?
is it an all boys trip or is it like a family trip?
It's any five people. It could be
Right.
anyone. But where would you go first?
Um, I'd probably go to Nicaragua, honestly. Um, and I would try and do it based around anything at 12 seconds or better, you know. And then if it was 20 years ago, it'd be an all boys trip. And, you know, it would be Don Raby, Billy Anderson, um, Damian Denham, probably Al Rumbos, and uh, and probably Brian Holloway, because those are my good travel buddies, you know,
Sick.
and maybe Devin. Actually, no, Devin would be in there before. Uh,
Well, just add Devin in there.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So we got Devin,
Devin.
and then if
Who
I could
would
have
photograph it?
anybody, huh?
Who would photograph it?
So if I could have anybody come shoot it, would probably be my friend Randy Lathrop. He's from Florida. Um, just all around like like one of the best photographers I've ever seen, you know, or ever even worked with, and been friends with, and you know what I'm saying? So like I'd want Randy to come just because I know that he's gonna make the photo look like a photographer's photo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not going to be out of focus, and like the horizon's going to be straight, and you know what I'm saying, you're going to be in the center of the photo, and if it's not to the quality that he wants, you won't even see it.
Yeah.
Like
Old
you
school
know,
style.
you know what I'm saying, and like and like there's a lot of photos that he has that are really insane, like action shots, but there's just something about it that he doesn't like.
So
You know what I'm
crazy.
saying? Which is
I,
like, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? But the shots that he does give me, or that, that he's been like, hey, here's some shots, like, here's the ones that like, that I
Qualify.
have like done for you, are all, you know,
Legit.
they're all next level, you
I,
know?
yeah, that's old school style right there.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, and like I never questioned that, like, what I'm saying, you never question that, what I'm saying? Like you always want those photos, but like once you become that level of photography, what I'm saying, you don't put out something that's sub quality.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Um, who would videotape it?
Um, so man, like I've never really got a lot of video ever, but like I think I'd maybe want to have little Todd there because I know he like has a boogie frame of mind,
Mhm.
and like I think he would, he's always, he's putting out some good shit. You
Yeah.
know,
Only problem with Todd is he'll probably want to ride waves too.
yeah. But hey, yeah,
Exactly.
switch off. Like you surf for an hour, I'll surf for an hour. I'll shoot you, you shoot me, whatever you want to do. You know,
Exactly.
like
Right on. Well,
yeah,
Dan, if you got any other words you want to say before we sign off, I want to say thanks though. That was pretty freaking cool.
yeah, man. Just big shout out to Custom X, man. They've been supporting me for like at least the last 10 years. And like you know they just been making quality stuff for so long, and right here in the U.S. and Debbie and like JoJo for the longest time, and Pete, and now Steve is over there, and like you know like like those boards are what keep me going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like they just work. Like if you buy one of their boards, it's gonna what I'm saying, it's gonna last. You know, so yeah, so just super stoked on them, and hopefully I'm probably gonna go out there and hang out with those
Yeah.
guys here shortly. So maybe I'll see you out there
All right.
shortly too.
Yeah, no, you got my number. Just give me a holler if you come out here. I'll take you down to Baja. I got a boat. We go out to these waves out in San Diego where no one's around. So yeah, just give me a holler when you get into town.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, brother. Thanks again, and good luck on your event. And yeah, I'll send you an email with all the details.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
All
man.
right. See you later, brother.
Yee.